Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Range is hot. Lock and load. It's time for the Gun Rack with your hosts, Joey and Drew.
Hello and welcome to the Gun Rack, Sonoran Desert Institute School of Firearms Technology's official podcast. I'm Josiah Upper. Folks call me Joey, and with me we have two people. We have one, of course.
Drew Poplin.
That was a very sloppy setup on my part, but you picked up the spare. And then who is our second guest here today?
This is George Demopoulos.
George Demopoulos, also known as Team Bakelite himself, the man, the legend. Super happy to have him here. I've not been here in a minute either. Super excited to be a part of things here today. There's so much to talk about, and we're going to hop right into it. Although I feel like it's pretty important to mention before we get into shout outs, the subject of our conversation prior to hitting the record button in terms of remedying any causes related to dolphins experiencing homelessness. Where did we end on that line of thought?
I think we ended at dolphins living in tents outside your local bodega.
Yeah, that was it. Because we're going to be house flippers. Yeah, that's good stuff. We talk about quality things before we record, and then we record garbage, and then we turn it off and we talk about quality things again.
Hey, it's my belief that every dolphin deserves to have a good home.
Yes.
I agree with that.
I don't think that's a controversial statement to make.
We're going to get awful political here with these dolphin leeches. Trying to take my precious ocean garbage and turn something out of it without creating anything of value of their own. Absolutely not.
Joey,
abolish the ocean postal service.
Yes. I was going to say, Joey, for those that don't know, which you probably won't because this is a audio format, Joey is recording this episode from his brand new office that may or may not be haunted.
It is supposedly haunted. We are in lovely Old Salem, which is in North Carolina. I can tell you guys now, after being away for a little bit, doing some freelance work, very excited to be the Director of Marketing and Communications for Old Salem here in North Carolina. And if you ever feel like coming and immersing yourself in some living history, there is no better place to do it than out here. We would love to have you. We also have a museum here called the Museum of Early Southern and Decorative Arts. And it's pretty amazing stuff. So if you ever want to come down, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, come visit Old Salem Museum and Gardens. There's a shameless self-plug for you, but I'm super excited to be here. It's awesome. And I have an office, an actual office for the first time. Well, I worked from home, so home office, but an office. There's stuff in here that's not mine. That's kind of fun.
Remote work or no more?
So far, it has been no remote work at all. And there's a fair amount of running kind of the whole marketing shindig. So photography, things that you literally have to physically be there is going to be kind of under my purview here for the foreseeable future. So there may be some time where I can work away, but I don't anticipate very much of it. And honestly, I'm in a house that George Washington spent some time in. So why would I be elsewhere? That's pretty friggin' cool. So you know what I brought in here almost first thing though?
What?
It's a very large box of Zip Fizz sitting in the corner of this office.
Oh, are your coworkers, is George, in fact, aware of Zip Fizz?
No, and that is my deep personal failing. I will give my assessment of this, and then I will give my recently graduated from pharmacy school friends' assessment of Zip Fizz. Mine is, if you take 2 of them in a day, it's a multivitamin, sugar-free, taurine-free, baby. 100 milligrams of caffeine and more B12 than you can shake a stick at. It was basically a cup of I almost said cup of fiber. I don't know why. Cup of coffee that makes you feel euphoric. and you drink 2 of them a day, it's only 200 milligrams of caffeine. That's not bad. What my pharmacy school recently graduated friend said was, this is probably not a good idea. But what does he know?
Sounds like more lies from
Big pharma.
big medical,
pharma,
from big pharma.
They're trying to keep you unenergized so you can't work. They're trying to keep you down, man.
That's what I'm saying. He is the man, and we gotta stick it to the man. I bet he would probably stand for some subsidized dolphin housing.
Yeah. It seems like that kind of guy. So
he's definitely a subsidized dolphin housing kind of guy.
yeah. So we're certainly very, very excited for Joey's new gig. That's probably going to be a topic of conversation because they do have a gunsmithing portion.
Very relevant material over here that you guys are going to love. They do stuff on commission here, and that stuff is high-end black powder stuff. We could talk about it in more depth down the road, but they literally do it like it was done 200-ish years ago. Nothing that could be too modern for that time period is utilized on any level. So as people would do it here, back when Old Salem was just Salem, that's what they're doing out there. It's really cool. It's so cool.
No wireless Dremel?
No wireless Dremel. Ripperoni. Rip to my friend Wireless Dremel.
But we're certainly excited about that. It's an awesome place. If you're ever in the Piedmont Triad area, certainly go visit. They have some amazing bread too, I might add.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
As a baking enthusiast, and by that I mean my wife bought me a bread making machine and I use that. It's quality stuff. Now let's get into some shout outs real quick. So we have a couple of comments. I asked for some comments when we did my top war films of all time.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah, and people actually commented, so that's cool. By the way, George, go be thinking of some of your favorites. Because I'm intrigued by it. Which one?
The Terminator, the first one, no question.
Perfect war movie.
There we go.
Dude, the future war scenes.
I was about to say it can count as a war if
Absolutely.
it's prescient.
I mean, we were pretty lax with our own picks in some areas. So, who are we to say Terminator is not a war film rather than an action adventure film? So we had Joe Karpinski comment. We love Joe. He mentioned The Dirty Dozen. Oh, sorry, Guns of Navarone. Yeah, I actually haven't seen it, which is surprising because I do like my Westerns, but definitely going to need to check out. Have Bridge on the River Kwai.
Another great one.
Mm-hmm. Saving Private Ryan. The Longest Day, which I didn't mention, but I am a fan of. Well, not a fan of the actual Longest Day, but the movie was pretty good. Midway, Full Metal Jacket.
Classic.
Fury, Inglourious Bastards, Black Hawk Down, 1917, Casualties of War, Guy Ritchie's Covenant, Apocalypse Now, Platoon, and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which is
one of the saddest films I think has ever been created. I don't think that's hyperbole on any level.
I cried during Detective Pikachu, so that was pretty sad.
Yeah.
Well, we said one of, we
yeah, it's true. No one mentioned Bridge Too Far.
On crime kind of film.
No one mentioned Bridge Too Far. Classic.
No, I don't think that was. I don't think that was on your list. I don't think I mentioned on mine.
I will give a shout out though. 1917. I don't remember. I don't think I put that on my list. I don't remember. Did I? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Word. Say that's one of those movies that came out. It was excellent, and then just no one talked about it.
Yep.
It's maybe the best World War I film in the past century, and it's just no, because All Quiet on the Western Front came out in the 30s. Forget me. It's definitely the best one to come out in the past 75 years or so, and just gets swept under the rug with all the other big films that came out at the same time. Yeah,
but you'll be right when we redo our list in like 10 years.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah. And then Top Gun 484. commented. We appreciate both him and Joe commenting. Top Gun 484 said American Sniper, Platoon, All Quiet on the Western Front, though he didn't specify original or the newest. It's a series, right?
It's a movie, but it's
Okay.
very different.
Gotcha.
Very different.
Gotcha. He also had Fury, Saving Private Ryan, Glory, which was your number 2, right?
It's a freaking banger of a movie. I don't remember where it was, but it's an amazing film.
Yeah. Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, Red Dawn. I'm glad Red Dawn got a shout out.
That better not be the one with Josh Peck, is all I'm trying to say.
And Black Hawk Down. So we thank you guys for commenting some of your favorite war films of all time. George, give us your top 5.
Top 5 war films of all time. Well, I already said Terminator, so obviously that's number 1. Here's a book that they don't have a movie about, but they should. Is The Storm of Steel. It's like a memoir that this German stormtrooper from World War I wrote, and it's like basically the opposite takeaway of All Quiet on the Western Front, because like this guy was in he and all his like school friends like loved the war. You know, they were like down with it because they were like part of like this like super elite squad instead of just like in the meat grinder. You know, so it's I'm not surprised that they haven't made a movie about it, because it really glorifies like all the horrible things about World War I.
It glorifies Germany in a world war.
It is a great book though.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Bridge Too Far is great. There's that one scene where the Germans are trying to get the British to surrender, and the British turn it around on them. They're like, "Oh, we don't have the facilities to take all of you guys prisoner. So sorry about that. We'd like to." And then what's his name? Sean Connery spends most of the movie hiding in someone's attic. He's like a general who like paratroops in. He like just hides in someone's attic the entire time because there's like Nazis running around outside the building. That one's pretty good. But I feel like you guys have mentioned Indiana Jones, obviously. You know.
Oh, that is kind of a war film.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. They fight Nazis.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'll take that. I like this very artistic interpretation of what a war film is.
Well, you guys already picked all the good ones.
No, I like it. I will add to that, as long as we're talking about books war related that should be made into movies. Tom Clancy's Red Storm Rising is maybe the best military book ever written. And it's his second book, which is just unfair. My man wrote The Hunt for Red October, which I did not include as a war film, but is maybe my favorite movie of all time.
Damn, all right.
And then Red Storm Rising afterwards, which is this almost 800-page sprawling epic about World War III from like every possible angle you could consider. It is nutballs. And it would be like, you know how they just made Dune and now we're having to roll out Dune 2? It would have to be at least that thick it would have to be 2 very long movies to make it work on any level. And we probably would need Oscar Isaac somewhere to sell it. But I do think war movies have a propensity to end up kind of on the propaganda-y side of entertainment.
For sure.
As a byproduct of what they are and the subject material. And Red Storm Rising is just all about whooping up on some Russians, which I think would be difficult to do right now with any level of finesse. But maybe if things cool down, or if we just want to say, screw it, let's make an insanely propaganda-style video, we can get Red Storm Rising parts 1, 2, and 3.
I mean, it didn't stop the Looney Tunes from doing that exact thing.
Hey, man.
They did it well.
By their own drum. All right? This is their world. We just live in it.
I never got too into Tom Clancy. I feel like maybe I should now.
You haven't read Tom Clancy?
I don't think I've read any of his books.
So Libby, do you know what Libby is?
Uh-uh.
Okay. So it's online. It's basically Kindle, but for public libraries.
Okay.
There's just an app. You plug in your library card and you can just have books there. They keep pretty much all of his stuff, and it's all good. It's so good. He's one of the last few authors in that genre that like defined how we perceive that kind of thing. And I mean, we get Clear and Present Danger, Sum of All Fears. What's the movie with Harrison Ford?
Oh,
shoot. There are at least 4 Tom Clancy films out there. Patriot Games, which is a dope movie. And John Krasinski, Jack Ryan. All Tom Clancy-isms. And there were rumors that he published Red Storm Rising, and Soviet agents tried to kill him about it because the information he had was so good. I don't know how true those rumors are, but I do know that he met presidents about it after the fact, because that's how good his stuff was. It's crazy, man. It's all the stuff that he was like guessing at. We now know to be historical fact. He just figured it out about 2 or 3 years early. By his lonesome. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, too bad I'll never be able to sign up for Libby, because I don't believe in giving the government my whereabouts on a library card. So
there you go.
You know,
dang, the Dolphins for Patriot.
I knew a kid in like 5th grade that was reading Tom Clancy novels. You know, shout out to Robbie if you're listening for whatever.
Money, dude.
Yeah. How were you when you started reading Tom Clancy?
13 or 14.
Okay, that was. I'm trying to think of what I would have been reading at 13, 14.
That's also where Rainbow Six came from for all my gamer boys.
Mm-hmm.
Rainbow Six is a Tom Clancy book.
Maybe rereading Holes or something.
That's an acceptable use of your time, though.
Yeah, and then just watching the movie.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Holes?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it. I also haven't seen Avatar, so like I'm pretty uncultured when it comes to a lot of movies.
Wait, the Blue People movie or the hit Nickelodeon show from 20 years ago?
I've seen the hit Nickelodeon show, but I have not seen the Blue People movie. Which is also James Cameron, just like Terminator.
Is Terminator James Cameron?
Oh, it's his first movie.
Oh my goch.
Dude, he's just been doing bangers.
Like Avatar is just such a it just does not have all that much substance outside of being a beautiful movie, aesthetically speaking. Imagine
making first 2 Terminator movies and then being like, I'm going to make the Titanic now.
I think he did Aliens before Titanic too.
I thought that was Ridley Scott.
The first one's Ridley Scott. Aliens is with who's the actor? Oh my God, Scott Bean. He plays Kyle Reese in the first Terminator movie. He's also like the I forget his name, but he's one of the troopers in Aliens. He's one of the ones who survives. But yeah, James Cameron did the Aliens, the second one.
Aliens is a great movie. Both of them are good, but they're wildly different. I love Aliens.
Speaking of great war movies.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, what is it? Enemy at the Gates. That's one that people it's a guilty pleasure for sure. Just because, I mean, Jude Law, he's handsome. That girl's pretty attractive too. The story's pretty great. I haven't seen it in a while.
With freaking Bob Hoskins playing Nikita Khrushchev for some reason.
Oh my God. And they got, what's his name too? Who's the bad guy? I'm totally blanking on his name right now.
I know who you're talking about. He was in he was in the Truman Show.
Oh, there's a movie
when the one with the rifle gets killed, the one behind him picks up the rifle and shoots.
That's like the
Which
first
I don't think
movie.
is based in historical facts, but is like one of the best war movie lines of all time.
For sure.
So good.
I'd love
Probably Don't Surf is another good one.
What's that?
From Apocalypse Now? Yeah. No, I get the
Charlie Don't Surf?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Drew's Clues before this becomes a war movie podcast, which maybe it should be. What do we got this week? Or what did we have last week, I should say?
So about 3 or 4 weeks ago was our last Drew's Clues. The answer to that one, if anyone was curious, was the DPMS Panther Oracle. Now this week, here are the clues. This 12 gauge pump action dual magazine bullpup shotgun, that was the expression, looks a bit like a Javelin rocket launcher. It has a magazine capacity of 7+7, overall length of 26.1 inches, a barrel length of 18.5 inches, a trigger pull of 5 pounds. And we referenced this brand not too long ago. What firearm am I talking about? If you know the answer, I encourage you, please comment on YouTube when we post this episode. Comment in the section below, or send an email to marketing@sdi.edu with a heading saying Drew's Clues, just so we know what you're talking about. If you are the first one to get the answer correct, we will send you a free shirt. So why not? Give it a shot. And if you get it wrong, there's really no consequences for that. We have yet to air out wrong answers. So
Yeah.
but we might start. You never know. You never.
No, the only wrong answer I think we've ever given is no wonder the hood don't like us. Which is my favorite comment we've ever received.
Yeah. It's hard to top that.
Yeah.
Real quick, let's talk about SDI. Sonoran Desert Institute, otherwise known as SDI, is an online school that helps students learn the skills and techniques they'll need to be successful in the firearms and unmanned technology industries. That little bit's about to change soon, probably about September, but just keep your ears open. Anyway, SDI is accredited by the Distance Education Accrediting Commission, the DEAC, and currently we offer 2 programs in firearms technology. That would be the Associate of Science in Firearms Technology and the Certificate in Firearms Technology Gunsmithing. If you have any curiosity about either of these 2 programs and want to find out more, head to our website at www.sdi.edu for more information. Now, and you've heard from him plenty already, that we are with George, the owner of Team Bakelite.
And Team Bakelite, we all own Team Bakelite. We're all comrades here.
Wow.
Well,
my man does not trust the government enough to get a library card, but very socialistic when it comes to Team Bakelite. That is the people's team.
Honestly, we should have known when you said one of your favorite war movies was Enemy at the Gates. Like, you have been dropping hints throughout this entire conversation, and now it's finally culminated to this. So here we are, and we really want to use this episode, to kind of get to know George better. But just starting off, George, tell us a little bit about growing up, sort of where you grew up, what you wanted to be, and eventually how did you first become interested in firearms?
All right. Well, pretty sure that I was raised in a cave by wolves. I was born with this beard, and it's been growing every day since. Actually, though, I was born in the same hospital as Ronnie James Dio, which is my claim to fame, in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Heck yeah.
And I grew up there until I forget. It was like before I could remember. I moved to Illinois. Then I moved back to New Hampshire, and I grew up there for most of the rest of my life. And I don't know. As far as my interest in firearms goes, I guess you can either take it. You can probably date it all the way back to GoldenEye 007.
Heck yeah, let's go.
Yeah. And I always just thought they were really neat. There's just something about them that I don't know. Some people like cars and watches. I love instruments, bass guitars. I love, and I feel like I was talking to my friend the other day. I feel like there's a lot of, especially in the world of AKs, because there's so much a lot of it's just people hyping up things. And I feel like you get a similar way with a lot of different kinds of bass guitars, where there's some super niche thing. Only a couple of random people know about. Synthesizers are like this a lot too, where there's some guy in his garage who builds a synthesizer, or some guy in his garage who builds a bass guitar, and then suddenly that's the new hot thing outside of all the mainstream ones. But as far I was into firearms a lot when I was a kid, and then I went to college, and I got more into skiing and stuff like that. But I guess probably back around 2020, I started getting back into guns again. I never actually owned one before then. And so then I got my first one. It was a Turkish 1911, which I didn't know at the time. I was upset because after I learned it, because I'm Greek, and Greek and Turkish people aren't supposed to like each other. But I still have the 1911. So that should tell you something about, reconciliation. As far as writing goes, I went to school for journalism, and I thought I was going to go to law school, but that didn't end up happening because I got into playing music, and so I'm in a couple bands in Denver, mostly jam band oriented stuff and like electronic music too. So I got into the whole freelancing thing to kind of support myself as like a side gig for the music thing. That started in like March of 2019. And I figured, I could work remotely and I could just like be on the road with my band all the time. I wouldn't have to go into an office. And so we scheduled a couple tours to go off in 2020. And then there weren't any more tours after, dude, Friday the 13th. All right, here's a story. Friday, March 13th, we had like one of the biggest shows that we ever had scheduled. It was in this venue. We'd sold like over 100 tickets, like us personally, like going and talking to our friends. We'd like sold 100 tickets, which is how it works now, actually. Like you think that promoters like put up posters and like sell tickets, but they don't do that. Basically, if you're in a band, you have to pimp out your friends to some gigantic corporation that's owned by one guy who's the 40th richest person in the country. Anyway, I digress. They canceled, the governor canceled all events of 50 people or more 2 hours before our sound check. So that was a big bummer. And but I mean, ever since then, like the whole writing thing is kind of stuck because it's been something that like I can kind of have control over my own time, which I like a lot. It's like nice to be able to go skiing on like a Wednesday because on the weekend it's like there's just people everywhere. It's insane, and I don't have to commute anywhere, which it like, dude. So I worked in a big greenhouse, right? And I was driving there like it was like an hour there and back every day. It's horrible. I hated it. So that's anyway. I feel like I'm getting lost in the weeds here, but that's how I ended up being a content writer and why I love guns.
Tiny micro sidebar. I just received a text message from Chris Ross, digital marketing specialist at SDI. And if you guys understand it, I would love to know. 3 words. That's Luffy Mama. Luffy Momma. I don't know what that means. Don't you dare ask him.
Luffy. That sounds like autocorrect gone wrong to me.
It does, but like so many things had to go wrong to put that sentence together.
Well, what do we know about Chris Ross? He likes anime.
He does. Very fluent in memes.
Just a quick Google search, which, I don't know what kind of list I'm on now, typing in Luffy Mama, but it offers Luffy Mom. Luffy's mother is a character in the anime One Piece.
True, that was so fast.
Listen, after some practice, you get used to having to type in stuff into Google quick. But how that relates to anything you sent or didn't send, if he just sent it out of the blue.
Bro, we were talking about different forms of digital advertising methods. I don't know what the connection is. You have now as much information as I have.
I think I got it. Okay. He is suggesting an Old Salem anime because another thing we know about Chris Ross, Chargers fan. What has Chargers social media been famous for the last 2 years? Doing their schedule release as an anime. That's the connection.
It goes all the way to the top.
What does that say? I see
one of the very few extant copies of Wild Indigo, an erotic fan fiction written about Old Salem. I found it. So we may not have an anime, but man,
source material.
Some truly mediocre smut available for those willing to do some deep Google searches to find one shipped to you.
What was that called?
Wild Indigo by Judith Stanton.
Are you a fan of historical period piece smut?
I wasn't, but now I feel like I have to be. I'm a company man. Yeah.
Just a quick.
That's me hiding it back in its special spot. I got a copy for our friend Andy as a thank you for helping out with something we were working on earlier. So if you ever want to read it, Drew, you know who to hit up. We're blessed. I'm
reading the description on Amazon right now.
Imagine every we can debate at length how how sensitive our culture is to offense for different types of things in this life. But I think everyone can find a little something to be offended by in Wild Indigo. Just the synopsis is like, oh no.
Oh. And then like you're looking at, so I clicked on the author's bio. It's just her with like her horse, like this sweet old looking lady. A steady stream. Well, this tracks. Judith lives in North Carolina, where she and her husband tend to her elderly equine friends and a steady stream of rescued cats.
That does sound like someone not entirely familiar with romantic interactions.
Yes. But hey, what do I know?
What do I know? I know. She's going to be like our biggest fan and really mad at me. If she, listen, if she ever hears this, if you hear this, you send me an email and I will interview you right here and we'll have a wonderful time. It'll be great.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, what a day that would be.
Yeah. So George, you mentioned your band. You actually have a keyboard behind you. I'm guessing you play a decent amount of, the keyboard. You tickle the ivories a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, you consider yourself a multi-instrumentalist?
Talented multi-instrumentalist, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, because when was the last time you heard about an instrumentalist or a multi-instrumentalist who wasn't talented? There's no mediocre multi-instrumentalists out there. Oh, well,
I mean,
that pokes a hole through my argument. But I'm in several bands. I'm in a couple different bands. One is called Giant Walking Robots. It's like a reggae band. We also have it's like a eclectic kind of like there's the main singer loves reggae and stuff, but it's kind of eclectic. We have like a lot of different influences. I'm also in a band called Denver Jamtronica Solutions LLC, which is a professional company. You can look us up on Facebook. Actually, we have nothing but 5-star reviews. So speaking of digital marketing, we had a guerrilla marketing campaign where we got all of our friends to give us 5-star reviews, and all these reviews are like, I lost my cat in a tree. Denver Jamtronica Solutions showed up and played transfusion music in my front yard for 2 hours. My cat's still up there, but I had a great time. And so I play mostly bass guitar, but I do also play keyboards. I started doing that kind of recently. But I've taken piano lessons for like 10 years when I was a kid. And like, that's the only reason that I actually know how music works now. So I figured I'd, get back into it. And I do sing sometimes, actually. I have a rock opera about ancient Greece.
Whoa.
It's based on this book called The Anabasis. This dude, Xenophon, he joined this army that they're all like Greek mercenaries, and they went over to Persia to try and like overthrow the king's younger brother, hired them to kill his brother basically so he could be king. And so they won this big battle, but the person who's going to pay them got killed. So they end up like, there's this whole like decision point where they're like, because they're like, really, really deep in like an enemy country with like everybody wants to kill them. They have no leadership anymore. So like there's this decision point where they're like, do we surrender? And like, because the Persian army is like, hey, like give us all your weapons, we'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Everything's gonna be okay. Just give them up. And so they decide not to, and they have to end up fighting their way all the way to the Black Sea to where all these Greek colonies are. And so they make it. And this dude, he ended up being like one of the leaders. They like democratically elected a bunch of leaders, and he ended up writing everything too. It's a pretty crazy story. If you guys ever get a chance to read it, definitely do it. It's called The Anabasis, and it translates to March Up Country. Yeah, it's like one of the like first like military memoirs like ever written that we still have a copy of, because this is like this is like late like Greece and Persia interactions kind of thing. So it's like after 300, but it's like before Philip of Macedon. So anyway, that's my rock opera, and it's not quite finished yet, but I've been working on it.
I'm looking forward to that. I like me a good concept album.
Well, so I actually haven't recorded any of it as an album yet. I've only performed it live. Technically not a concept album yet, still just a rock opera.
Gotcha.
When you're in the business like I am, all the nuances of the jargon.
Oh, okay. Coming here onto our podcast and trying to flex on us. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how that pays off. So, talking a little bit more about music. So you play bass, you play keys. What sort of instruments do you have?
I have like 4 different bass guitars. So the one I play the most is a Modulus Q5. It's like a 5 string. The neck is made out of carbon fiber. Like when I was talking earlier about some guy in his garage like making the next cool thing, this is like a NASA, and or he was an aerospace engineer subcontracted to NASA. So not technically a NASA scientist, but a scientist who did work for NASA.
Mhm.
He took a bunch of acid at a Grateful Dead concert and like came up with like this design in his head and came up like he like went home and built it, and now it's like one of like the like on most high end guitars like you want to get your like graphite neck because it makes it basically immune to weather, and so like you can take it like wherever you want, and like the neck will never flex or anything. I had the same set of strings on it for I think like 2 or 3 years, and they never went out of tune. It's pretty crazy. I did end up eventually changing them, which one of the biggest regrets of my life. I also have a alembic, which was are you guys Grateful Dead fans at all?
Not really. Not really.
So there's this dude Owsley who he was one of their sound guys for a while, and he started this bass guitar company, and it's alembic. So the Grateful Dead's sound guy basically started this company and started making these bass guitars. So those are my 2 main workhorses basically. Then I have a Yamaha 6 string. That's have you guys ever heard of Dream Theater?
Yeah.
So it's like the Dream Theater bass guitar player's signature bass. I have one of those. And then I also have just like a boring old Fender like jazz bass, which I hopefully can sell for more keyboard money coming up here soon. Actually, gotta get that keyboard.
The Squire jazz bass right now,
dude. Those are good. I just as such a talented multi instrumentalist, I've transcended.
You're too cash money.
Exactly. I need 5 strings.
You have
that's my basis.
Okay. In the keyboard world, do you have a Moog perchance?
I was going. First of all, it is pronounced Moog. I don't mean to be that guy, but it's long O's.
Wow.
I'm just saying we have the museum. We have the museum where I live, and the pun Moogzim only works if it's Moog.
You can call it whatever you want to, because he's much like how John Cornelius Garand is now dead. No one can't tell anyone that they're all pronouncing his name wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Moog isn't going to come back from the dead and say you're pronouncing his name wrong. But
we don't know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But long story short, I don't have a Moog though. I was going to get one, but this was earlier this year. In Colorado, we got this thing called Tabor. It's short for something. I don't know what it is, but basically it's like a tax refund. And so the government didn't give me enough government keyboard money to buy a Moog. So I went with something a little cheaper instead. So my government mandated keyboard is not a Moog, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
Dang.
It's a Novation.
Oh, okay. So you listeners listening right now, one thing about George relating to firearms is he is a big AK advocate.
I am.
How'd that come about?
I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. There's just something about like the lines of the profile, I guess, that really get me going. I don't know. I think I do have an AR, but I don't know. The AK thing is just like there's a lot more like interesting like history, I feel like, tied up to it, rather than like ARs are probably more functional. I'm not going to argue that, but I'm also like a pretty big history buff, and the AK is the most produced rifle like ever in the history of the world. It's been used on conflicts used in conflicts everywhere, and I just always thought that was interesting. I have 2 AKs. I have a Wasser 10 that I've been pimping out with as much Bakelite as my wallet can handle at any given time. Because dude, those Bakelite magazines, they get expensive. It's like I've personally seen, since I started like getting into them, Bakelite magazines have gone from like $80 to like over $100 for like a single magazine.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
People are like buying stocks. I'm like stocking up on this like carcinogenic plastic that they haven't made since the 80s. But yeah, and my second one is my second AK is built by this it's like a Colorado company. It's called M&M, M plus M, not like the rapper or like the candy. But actually, fun fact, the pistol grip is hollow. So if you wanted to put M&Ms in there for a nice little snack, if you ever got tired, you could do that.
Or some mom spaghetti.
That you could do. That's what I actually lubricate my AK with is mom spaghetti.
Yeah, good call on that. Joey, you got any questions?
No, not really. It's George and I met a couple years ago, and we haven't had the chance to catch up in forever. It's just really good to hang out.
It's good to see you too again, man.
Yeah, we both have a love for the AK platform and for the bass guitar, although mine's much more, I touch it about once every 3 or 4 months as opposed to on any sort of regular basis. But yeah, a lot of fun, and our our movie game is all over the place. So if you, the listener, have a list of top war movies, and I think we've established that the criteria for a war movie is pretty friendly to whatever you want it to be, send them in, marketing@sdi.edu, or slap that on a comment in one of our social feeds. And yeah, come let us know.
Does Sicario count as a war movie? It's the war on drugs.
Ooh, that's a good movie.
It's a great movie.
Way. Isn't that Benicio del Toro?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. And dude, I saw the second one. It was definitely not as good. It was kind of disappointing. But the first one was great.
Rambo slaps.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised they actually made a second one.
It seemed like the whole story was done like in the first
right.
You know? But hey, you got to get that cash money, especially in Hollywood.
Cash money.
You know how it is. You know how it be. Real quick, what has been your favorite article that you've worked on for SDI?
All right, good question. It's far and away the can an AK shoot through a brick article, because I moved into this house and it's a brick house, right? And I saw Red Dawn, and I'm like, what happens?
Hold on, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what happens when like the Russian paratroopers come down? They they're like, there's George, he's in there, and I'm like, no, and they open up my house because they're afraid to come inside because my dog is so vicious. She'll beat them all up. So they're trying to take me out from the outside. And I was like, will the bricks stop a 7.62 by 39? So I went up to my friend's got a 35-acre ranch up in the mountains. And I went up there with a bunch of different kinds of, I had like some concrete blocks, and I had like actual bricks and stuff. And what I discovered was that a single brick will stop a 7.62. What I did was I put a brick in front and then a brick behind it, and I like wedged them together between some concrete. And if you shoot a brick with 7.62, the brick will explode, but the brick behind it will be completely untouched. So
really?
Yes, totally completely untouched, not even cracked or anything, which makes sense.
Fascinating.
It makes sense if you think about how ceramic armor works, right? Because ceramic armor, the whole idea is like a ceramic, like a little ceramic hexagon, like absorbs the impact of the bullet and breaks, right? And that's kind of I feel it's kind of similar. Like a brick is like a piece of a ceramic plate that you shoot and it explodes because to absorb all the force, and it protects what's behind it. So once I did it, it made sense. But when I was like gearing up for this, I was like, dude, these bricks are both going to be completely destroyed, and like this is going to be the end of the story. But I thought it was pretty interesting. And long story short, if I'm inside this house and the Russians come, they try to take me and my dog away to some gulag, they're not going to get us.
Which I want to be the chief takeaway from this episode.
Absolutely.
If it's good enough for the 3 pigs, or at least one of the pigs, then it's it's good enough to stop at AK.
He would, yeah.
That's the reboot that Hollywood needs right now. Is the tactical reboot of 3 Little Pigs.
I'd consider watching that. That might make the list of top war films. Here pretty soon.
Little Pigs. Historically, your boundaries are artificial.
Yeah. I mean, what's a House of Straw gonna do against an AK-47?
That sounds like an article topic.
Apparently.
Or how much straw would it take to stop a bullet?
That's the next one.
For sure. I bet we could. All right. Challenge accepted.
There we go. There we go. If nothing else, you get to go out to the range with some straw and yeah.
It's like, all right, we have 6.5 miles of straw. Let's see if this stops the 7.62 by 39.
Yeah. Maybe get one of those like giant bales of hay.
That's actually not a bad idea now that you mention it. Because I bet that would stop it just because of how compressed the hay all is.
I mean, there's only one way to find out, gentlemen.
There is. I think I can probably find a hay guy. There's got to be a hay guy somewhere in Colorado, right?
I imagine.
Has to be.
Oh, cool. Before we go, we got a Tales from the Range.
Tales from the Range.
This one comes from, of course, thehighroad.com. And this is going to be just a PSA to our gun rack mafia out there. If you have any tales from the range that you'd want to share with me and Joey, we'd love to read them. Maybe it'll end up on the podcast. But the highroad.com is running a bit dry. So get those in because user submitted stories are better anyway.
Web 2.0, that's what it is.
Yeah. But this one comes to us from Uncle Bill. He says, one of my first turns as an RSO at a local range was the worst screw up that didn't result in death or great bodily harm I've ever seen. That is a sentence. I volunteered for Saturday afternoon. Mistake. And the range was very busy. I was watching the handgun range when I heard the very distinct sound of a click instead of a bang. The guy was right in front of me shooting a DA revolver and realized something was wrong, but looked up so puzzled, I started to step up and offer to assist. Just as I approached, he turned the revolver towards my face and looked down the barrel. After I calmed down enough to get him pointed down range and let go of his gun, we had a nice talk about hang fires and getting your head blown off.
Yeah.
Turns out he was using his buddy's hot hand loads. There's a lot of scary folks out there, you know? And that we do, Uncle Bill, that we do know very well. It's sort of been the theme maybe of the last 6 months to a year of Tales from the Range. Starting off, we wanted to try to find funny, mishaps and mistakes. That line is a very thin line between funny mistake and potentially dangerous situation. And we've been getting a lot of those stories lately. So just again, friendly reminder, be safe out there, folks. Be smart. Make sure you got your training, up to date. You're competent, and let's make it home so you can listen to another episode of the Gun Rack.
Yeah, baby.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, once again, we want to thank George for coming on to the podcast.
Great to
Joey,
be here. Thank you guys. This has been awesome.
Well, it's been our pleasure. Joey, nice to have you back, man.
Yeah, it's good to be back, baby.
Yep. I know the Mafia is very happy to hear about that. Until next time, that has been the Gun Rack. So everyone, have fun, stay safe, and we will see you at the range.
Sonoran Desert Institute is an online school accredited by the DEAC. It is headquartered at 1555 West University Drive in Tempe, Arizona. For more information about how you can craft your firearms future, visit sdi.edu.